Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Can I Come Over podcast. I'm your host, Jovia, and today I am back with another video essay. So, for this last video essay, I thought I should come up with a topic that's a bit personal, something that I enjoy a lot to do, and I came up with wanting to talk about journaling and more specifically the idea of pocket journals. I don't know if you guys have heard about this before, but I feel like it's a relatively new phenomenon, but also like something that's a little bit popular as well. But before I get into the details of that, I want to talk about my current obsession, which is road trips. I know it's like super generic and very random, also, I guess, but I've been on a couple of road trips lately, specifically two that have been like 5 hours plus on the road, which sounds a little bit like a nightmare, but I've been used to long hours on the road since I was little, and I absolutely love it. Now, again, I want to preface this by saying that I am not the one who does the driving. So maybe like a little bit of the pressure is not on me, and like I am being a little naive by saying that 5 hour plus road trips are amazing because I am truly a passenger princess right now because I do not drive. So for me, the 5 hour road trip was a great experience. I love to put a nice playlist on, have some lovely music, and romanticize the life out of a lovely road trip. I just love it. I love road trips and I've always loved it. I love road tripping in India and lately here as well. I love it. And I also think that you really do get to know people when you're on a road trip. When it's summer and when it's warm outside, you definitely should try it. Go on a road trip, you know. It doesn't have to be like a long one. You can just go on like an hour, 2 hour drive somewhere and it'll be like all nice and cute. Grab some snacks, put on nice music, roll down the windows, and romanticize your life as much as you can, and go on a road trip. That's what you should do this summer. Although the summer is almost over, but that's been the glimpse of my summer and been my very new but also lifelong obsession. Now that I have spent a really long time obsessing over this, I am going to get into the topic for today, which is journals and journaling as an idea overall. So, growing up, like I've always wanted to be the girl with a journal. As a little girl, I've always wanted to be the one who had like her entire day document where, I would start with like, Dear Diary, today I did this. But I just never could stick to it. Like, I would always start a diary. I'm pretty sure I've started a diary like 10, 20 times in my childhood and teenagers, but I never stuck to it. I would do it for 2 days and then I would forget it. But then sometime around like 2021, I was like, I think 17, 16 at the time. And I started thinking like, okay, I'm going to try to do this again. And I tried, except this time, magically, I was able to stick to the habit. Don't ask me why, don't ask me how. I genuinely cannot tell you. I just stuck to the habit. And ever since then, I have kept a journal. I've been through, I think, 5 books, um, 5 journals, and it's a hobby of mine. It's become a part of my routine now. It's so important to me right now, and it's something that I practice almost daily. Obviously, I can't stick to it every day. I don't do it every day, but it's become like a really important part of my routine and my personality, and I really do enjoy doing it right now. Now, I am not at all organized when it comes to my journals. Like, don't you think that I sit down every night or every morning to be like, Dear Diary, today I did this, I did that? I definitely don't do that. And I have everything from like grocery lists to like an angry rant or, I don't know, a to do list, a planner. Sometimes I even write down itineraries for trips that I'm never going to go on. I will plan like a Spain itinerary in my journal because I am bored. Or like sometimes it'll be doodles or scribbles or drawing or a sketch. So don't you be fooled by me that I am super organized or it's super neat. No, it's not. It's disorganized and it's chaotic, but it has its charm to it and I still very much enjoy it. And I want to start with like giving you some of the benefits of journaling and why I think you should do it. So, Jeremy Stutton, in his 2018 article, mentions a bunch of reasons as to why journaling is genuinely good for you. Now, this can be applied on different varieties of journaling. It can be speaking about junk journaling, happiness journaling, gratitude journaling, etc., etc. But I'm gonna use this just as an umbrella term for journaling as a hobby or as a habit or as a skill, even. The first one is the fact that it reduces stress and anxiety. I feel like this is pretty straightforward and it could give you clarity and help with emotional processing, which is again pretty straightforward, I think. When you write about something that you're feeling or thinking or have experienced, your thoughts are being structured. The fact that you are needing to form it into words in the first place already makes the situation or the thought a lot more clear and forces you to almost articulate it, which often happens in my case where I will be thinking about something and it'll be like in my head and I'm overthinking and it's like running again and again in my thoughts. But then the moment I sit down to journal about it, I am forced to articulate it. So I'm forced to process it and I'm forced to like come to terms with whatever it is that I'm thinking about. And it also is known to boost self esteem, which again, I think pretty straightforward. Doing all of these things, processing and accepting it, ultimately leads to better self esteem. And it fosters personal growth and understanding and also improves creativity and well being. When it comes to creativity and well being, um, one of the most crucial things here is how to pen down your thoughts. Now, penning down your thoughts, I don't think has to happen necessarily through words. Sometimes you can just doodle about it, sketch about it. If you have a problem in life, if somebody's bothering you, you don't have to like necessarily write down exactly what's bothering you, exactly how it's bothering you. You can just sketch about it, make a kill list about it. I've never done it before, but I feel like it would be pretty satisfactory. One other thing, this is like a personal one of mine that I genuinely really appreciate a lot, which is that it is almost like a personal little time capsule. So every time you stumble upon an old journal, this is like my favorite thing because I'm a sucker for nostalgia. And I don't even remember. Sometimes I look at like an angry rant of mine and I'm like, what was this even about? I don't even know what the topic of this rant was. Happens to me very often. And I find it quite entertaining actually to look back at it. And even with time, when I look at like my journals, when I compare them side to side, I see how, for example, my handwriting has evolved, the way I write has evolved, or like I'm using certain new words that I learned, or like even how you can sometimes notice people go in and out of your life. And I think it's so nice that you have like your own personal time capsule of your life, which is like almost like a time capsule of your thoughts, because I feel like you have it with like photos and other things, and like with your memories of course. But I feel like when it's in a book, it just feels more physical and it just feels more tangible to a certain extent. But I think arguably the most important, and I think the one that I would like to speak about the most today, is how there's this concept of the morning page, which was actually introduced by Julia Cameron in her book called The Artist's Way. So Julia Cameron introduced this concept as a way for creatives or authors or writers to kind of get over creative block. So instead of doing something else in the morning after you get up, instead of, you know, picking up your phone and doom scroll and just, numbing your thoughts immediately, Julia Cameron brought about the idea of how you just pick up a book, take a random blank page, and you just start writing, you know? And this is incredibly popular among writers and people who experience creative block in general, where you just start looking at a blank page and then you start filling it up with your ideas. Where, right off the bat, from the morning of the day, from the beginning of the day in the morning, you were just going head first into creativity. You're going head first into expressing your thoughts. I feel like, in a certain sense, it kind of sets the mood for the day. But the biggest benefit of this, like, blank page kind of idea, I think, is in the aspect of doom scrolling. And I find this incredibly curious how, like, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but like I have this habit where like I will have an idea or a thought or like something in my head where I'm like, oh my god, I need to do this. Like for example, it's oh my god, I forgot to pay my bill. And I like open my phone and I'm gonna write it in my notes app so that I remember later, like I need to pay my rent, for example. Except I open my phone and I don't actually go to my notes app. Instead, I go to Instagram and I start scrolling. And then I open up TikTok and then I open up my calendar just to see what's going on. I play like my Tetris game for 5 minutes and spend a whole 40 minutes on my phone, completely distracted and like lost. And this happens to me so often. It's not even funny. This happens to me so often. It's crazy. So, the idea here that I would like to introduce is that of a pocket journal. So, you carry around like a mini pocket journal, it can be a book of any size, it can be a notepad, it can be like a mini leather bound, it can be whatever you want it to be. The point of a pocket journal is every time you have a thought, you have an idea, every time you're bored, every time you're distracted, go for the pocket journal instead and just jot down whatever is on your mind. If you have, like, for example, like I said, I want to pay my rent. So I jot down, like, pay rent by 26th of the month. Or if I was completely bored, then I pick up the notebook and I just start doodling. I start scribbling, I start doodling, I start writing a thought that I have in my head. Or, just start writing the lyrics of a song that you're humming in your head. Whatever it is, but choose paper over screen. I feel like that's the sort of like decision here. And there's a whole community online who say that this practice actually helps them overcome doom scrolling. Now, I still doom scroll. Do I have a journal that I go to for boredom? Do I have a journal that I use when my brain is like foggy and I'm super bored? Yes. Does that prevent me completely from doom scrolling? No, I still pick up my phone and spend insane amounts of time on it. But it's just that 50% of the time that I reach for my phone, I have the thought in my head to swerve and reach for my journal. I feel like that's definitely a beginning here. That's a place to begin, I think. Having said that, there are definitely a few reasons why an average person may hesitate to, pick up this hobby. Somebody who's never journaled a page in their life, there might be a lot of reasons why you may be hesitating to pick this hobby up. And I feel like some of them include the fact that it's actually seems like a lot of effort. This one I think like is pretty much a misconception, but also I get it. I get the fact that it is actually a lot of effort and a lot of commitment to pick up a journal and like every day sit down consistently, write in it or draw in it or do whatever. But I feel like this stems from like the sort of stereotypical understanding of what journaling is. I feel like we oftentimes perceive it to be sitting down, writing date in the corner and time, and then going dear diary. But it does not necessarily have to be that. I'm not saying that's not journaling, that is. And if that's what you do and if that's comfortable for you, then that's amazing. But that doesn't necessarily have to be all that it is. I feel like it can be a lot more. The moment you start thinking of it as just a piece of paper that you can do whatever you want on, then I feel like it changes. There, I feel like it becomes more fluid, more creative, more just whatever you want it to be. Some people who genuinely think that I cannot write down my thoughts, like I just cannot bring myself to write down my thoughts. It's valid. It's completely valid, and it's a genuine fear, and I understand that. And if like you genuinely cannot pin it down, then I guess journaling might just not be for you. Another one is how concern of privacy. Believe me, I completely understand this coming from a brown household. The fear of like someone reading your journal is like huge. And I always had that fear. But then at some point I came to terms with the fact that nobody really cares. This, I think, is also a person to person thing, a factor of like boundaries and establishing boundaries and respecting them. So I think is something that's a little bit more murky and a little bit more 50-50. And it's a very, again, a very valid fear. And I've always had that fear as well. But at some point, I just got over it. And yeah. But there is still a small part of me that's like, if somebody finds my journal, it's over for me. But it's a very valid fear, and it's a reason why a lot of people hesitate to pick up journaling. Having said all of this, I still think that I vouch for journaling. I still think that it's a good habit to build if you can, that it's something that everyone should definitely try at least once. My personal experience has been with journaling. I've had really positive experiences with it. And although I've not been the most consistent person in the world, I don't journal every night or like every day. Sometimes I don't do anything. Sometimes I don't touch it for weeks. There are gaps of months where I've not, looked at it because I just didn't want to. But I feel like that's the beauty of it, or at least that's the beauty of the way I perceive journaling, that it can be, it's so incredibly personal that it is to each their own, really. Like your pocket journal is completely yours. What you want to do in it, when you want to do in it, how often you want to do in it, how you want to keep it is all up to you. And there's no rules, and I feel like therefore there is really no right or wrong. So you can never really mess it up per se. And like for someone like me who's a professional overthinker, it helps me a lot because every time like I'm overthinking and I'm like, okay, my brain is so chaotic, I need to like try to figure out my thoughts. So I start journaling and I'm like doing whatever. For example, I am anxious about something. I'm anxious about something that's gonna happen soon, like a, I don't know, maybe I'm traveling and I'm anxious about it, and I start writing down my fears. And the moment I start writing down and the moment I start articulating it, the moment I start like penning it down, I realized that some of my fears or some of my reasons of anxiety or some of my apprehensions are incredibly baseless and don't really make a lot of sense. So, for someone like me who's an avid overthinker, this keeps me grounded, you know? It brings all of my emotions, it brings my thoughts, my perspectives all back down to a baseline. The option of having the journal, I feel like, makes the battle against doom scrolling 50% easier and 50% like more beneficial. And I definitely think that like doom scrolling is negatively impacting at least me. I cannot speak for everyone else, but I know that it negatively impacts me like with my attention span, or like how I actually have noticed that I'm not able to retain things. Journaling has definitely made my screen time slightly more tolerable. But having said all of this, I hope I was able to convince you to try this favorite habit of mine. And hopefully, you have been convinced to pick up a journal. And again, I want to leave you with saying that it doesn't have to be perfect. There are no rules, there are no right, no wrongs. So do whatever you want, pick up a book, look at a blank page, write, draw, scribble, make a kill list, make a to do list, make a grocery list, write down your grandma's cookie recipe, do whatever you want. So, finally, through this episode, I hope that you were able to learn something. I definitely had fun telling you guys about something that I love doing. And hopefully, you will try it out and you will like it. So, that's what I would like to leave you guys with today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys have a lovely day and come knocking whenever you want. Bye.